So, welcome to the Tiny Home Geniuses podcast and video interview. It's brought to you by Kathleen Beauvais and Peter Wright, otherwise known as Beauty and the Beast. Kathleen, do you want to say hello quickly before we introduce our guest?
Yes, hello, Peter, and very excited to be with Mary Palamarevic right now. So take it away, Peter.
Okay, so for our listeners, our guest today is Mary Palamarevic, who lived in Canada until moving to Serbia for 11 years ago. And if for those of you who are weak on history, Serbia was formerly part of Yugoslavia, which old guys like me know about. Mary's made the transition so many of us dream of doing. She escaped the rat race in North America, became a freelance creative expert with the flexibility to work as she wanted and when she wanted, and to spend more time with her children. So welcome, Mary. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Peter.
No, it's good to have you. So many of our followers have already abandoned the corporate world and they've downsized, chosen to work remotely and faced all the problems that you know about. And others want to live closer to nature, to declutter, downsize. Many of them are self-employed, either as entrepreneurs or professionals, artists, creative people. And they'd be interested in your experiences. So tell us what motivated you to make the move to a freer lifestyle and how that's changed your life for the better from what you've already told me.
Yes, well, as many people, at a certain point, my husband and I were both working. I worked for a large corporation, we had children, and, we were still in our starter home, which was, maybe 1,600 square feet. And at one point we kind of realized that we didn't have enough time to do the things we really enjoyed, spending time with our kids. And we loved to travel. And that, all of our energy and time was a lot at work, but in order to pay down our mortgage and to pay for a home that we kind of thought was too big for us anyway, we really had a lot of unused space. And we really started thinking about, let's downsize. And what would that do and what would that mean for us? And, we'd like to travel to Europe. And we realized that, in Europe, everything is smaller. The concept of size is much more condensed there. But we really enjoyed the lifestyle there as well, which is outdoor living. You're really outdoors more. There's a higher social aspect. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to be out and about more instead of in our homes. And so we really explored it. And after a couple of years, we made the big move. And my first big move was to a very, very small space. We had a small apartment there that we had bought just as like a tester that we could, easily, rent out or just have when we vacation. But we were in a small space that was only 400 square feet, and there were 4 of us. So that was my first, small home, tiny home experience. But in Europe, that's pretty standard. 400 to 600 square feet is, a lot of people live in spaces such as that.
Mary, I'm curious about something. You said that your home here in Canada was around 1,400 to 1,600 square feet. By all accounts, that is, I would say, considered a little bit on the small side by North American standards.
Absolutely.
We consider that the typical North American home is around 2,600 square feet. So I'm curious, when you say that you had a lot of unused space. Mm-hmm. What were those spaces that you found that you just weren't using?
Well, we had a living room and a family room, and we had a den. It was a split level, and so we found that we were in the family room most of the time, and we were never in the living room. It was a large space, and the dining room area was just their fancy dining room space, but we were eating in our kitchen area. We really liked being in the kitchen most of all. And then we had, 3 bedrooms and lots of stairs up and down. And I really was, especially when you're, cooking and cleaning and getting around, moving from one room to the other, you just realize, gosh, I'm walking through empty space. I'm walking through space that I'm not even in most of the time. And yes, I'm paying for this space. And how does that impact us? We have debt, we have a mortgage. And so what am I really working for at that point? How am I spending my life? And that was a revelation to us that we needed less in order for us to get more out of the things we wanted, the life that we wanted.
Mm-hmm. And what a lot of people don't realize is that not only is it costing you money in the form of mortgage with that big space, but it's costing you time to keep it clean and keep it tidy. And that's what we found, moving from a huge farmhouse in Africa to a much smaller house in Canada. That not that I personally spend a lot of time cleaning house. I mean, I'm an old male, but generally it's much easier to keep a small place clean and tidy than a big place, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And so my experience when I came there was, we really did a drastic downsize. And although it was a temporary space that we were in, I really learned to organize myself really well, make the most of my space, and had a lot of hacks for, things such as doing the dishes in a really tiny kitchen, organizing my space for chopping and getting and preparing the meals. And I made some really smart investments with tools that were multi-purpose tools, blender, mixer, chopper combined. Those are typical examples, but that really was a good thing for me because I realized that I didn't need 3 appliances to do to do that. I could have 1 appliance that could do all 3, didn't take much space, and so forth and so forth. So we did get rid of a lot of stuff when we moved. We pretty much sold or gave away more than 70% of our furnishings, even clothes and old things that I just had around. I didn't even realize how much stuff I had. So we really scaled back, decluttered, simplified. And like I said, when I moved there, I really realized how, basics, having your basics and not really feeling like you need anything else. You have everything you really need. And the lifestyle is great there too, because there is such a community feel, and we're really out and about a lot more. So we're not in our homes cocooning.
Right. And what you had mentioned off camera, Mary, is that in Serbia, the average home is around 400 to 600 square feet, which is about average.
Yeah. That's pretty typical. You can have, where you have they actually count spaces, you have a 1.5 bedroom, and that half bedroom is the living space. It's the living room, and that's considered another bedroom because you have a pull-out couch. 90% of people have a pull-out couch in Europe. And so that's a space where, usually the parents or the adults, would sleep in, and the children have a bedroom. So you have 2.5 bedroom apartments where, again, you have that half bedroom is the living space. It's multi-purposing, using your space for more than one purpose.
So they've become experts basically in how to create a livable space in a very tiny space.
Oh, absolutely.
So
yes.
Tell us, you were telling us that you actually find designers in Serbia that will actually create or it's custom made space.
Yes. So that's the first thing we did, and that's very typical. When you come into your new apartment or when you buy an apartment, it's just bare walls. You don't have closet space. You build in the furnishings and the spaces and the closets and whatever that you need. And so they're quite the experts in maximizing the space you have. You use vertical space quite a bit, and you multi-purpose certain spaces. So you have staircase that's also pull-out drawers for extra storage. You have closets that are very, very narrow, but they're for shoes, and they go all the way up to the ceiling, and you stack all your shoes there, so you don't need a lot of depth. You use that space there, and it doesn't bother anyone because it's behind the door, and it's just like a space behind the door.
Very clever. Yeah, sounds like some good ideas. Something that when I moved to Canada that struck me was the number of storage facilities that you can hire. And even with the big houses people have in Canada, so many people have a storage facility and put stuff in there, I suppose when their garages get full. And from people I know, they very rarely use them. Is that a thing that you have in Serbia? Do people store excess in outside storage or not really?
Well, there aren't very large storage spaces. I mean, a lot of people don't even have garages in their apartment buildings. It's outdoor parking. So you do have a storage space usually on the terrace, where it's kind of like a little storage space, and it's like it serves as a cold room, and you've got a little extra storage there. But that's pretty typical. So that's pretty much your storage space. You really have to, scaling down. You have to be really smart. I mean, it's natural to accumulate things, and we get to that point naturally. And then when things get too tight, you really feel it in a small home, in a smaller space. That signal goes on a lot sooner.
So here's a question for you. Once you adjusted, and I guess that took a bit of time, once you adjusted to your small space and being tidy and making all these changes to your lifestyle, did you find that your stress levels went down compared to how you'd been in North America?
Well, yes. You know, in the beginning, I really felt like I needed to change the way I thought about things, the way I did things. And you have to be very flexible, and you will feel that in the beginning. You feel that kind of irksome kind of like, oh, and I just, you know, but then you think, well, what am I really doing here? What am I trying to achieve? And forces you to be creative. But then you realize you're not really bound to the things you own, you know, as opposed to, you know, your whole life is around, you know, paying off or managing the things you own or all the responsibilities about that. The more you have, the more of, I don't want to say slave, but you really do have to invest a lot of your time to maintaining the things you have. And so you have a little more time and more space and freedom to do things other than, you know, maintaining your home, getting out and about. And it's in Europe, particularly, that's the lifestyle I prefer. You know, there's a lot of people on the streets. You know, the city centers are full all the time. People are not sitting in their homes.
So you never felt like you were missing out by living in a smaller space?
No, not at all, not at all. Not at all, you know, because I think that for us it was a shift in what was important to us. And so we wanted to do more, and that smaller space gave us all the things we really needed, you know, a warm, comfortable bed, space for our things, but we just had to be very clever about what we really needed and where to put it. And, you know, a loving family home, and that's really what's important.
Yeah, it is. Well, I'm sure that'll encourage many of our viewers who are thinking about moving to a tiny home. That's going to be encouraging for them. Kathleen, I know you had a question about, are there any cons or any problems with moving to a tiny home? Do you want to pick up that one with Mary?
Yes, I was curious because, you know, the lifestyle is really what drives most people into downsizing. Mm-hmm. It's just a different way of life altogether, and it's this feeling of freedom because they're decluttering their life. They're getting rid of the excess that they weren't using anyway. But I'm curious as to know if there was anything that irritated you about living in a small space, like having to, you know, bathroom time, or was there anything else that was really an inconvenience to you and your family by living in such a tiny space?
Right, exactly. And needless to say, you know, after 36 years of living in Canada, I was programmed to, you know, have a lot of room around me and be able to, you know, just put things into a closet and not worry about them falling out all over me. But things that irritated me, I guess it would be related to just rewiring me. So is it really a problem, or is it just how am I really viewing the situation? Is it really an issue, or this thing that, you know, I'm always pulling out, and I've got this vacuum cleaner, let's say, and it's maybe it's just that I need a smaller vacuum cleaner. Maybe I don't even need a vacuum cleaner because I have hardwood floors through my home, you know? So that kind of thing. Maybe I just need like the small handheld vacuum cleaner instead of a big vacuum cleaner, and then I can put that away easily. So those are questions that, you know, you kind of have to start thinking, okay, I'm irritated with this. What is it that's bugging me? And is there another solution, another product that can help me, you know, get over that? So it would take a little bit of time, but usually I can find a solution.
Right.
That's, you know, so most of the perceived problems you can get around by being better organized, correct?
Yes, organization is key. So you take a little, you know, thinking through, but there are experts out there. Like I said, a lot of the businesses are really geared towards, you know, interior designers there. Know about small spaces and firms that create customized furniture. And, you know, we're talking about European furniture is very modern furniture. So if you can think about IKEA, you know, a modular furniture, really, but it is made for you and it's for your specifics. So you just kind of address and you say, I need something for this, and this is my wall. This is what I have to, this is it. And let's think of something. And they usually have quite creative ideas. Honestly, I would never come across where I would need to just look for it. I'd have to search. I'd have to really think. But they just kind of say, "Oh yeah, we know. We've done this for this client. We've done this in this home, in this apartment." So those are great sources.
Yeah.